Hello everyone and welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So today we're going to talk about a very hot topic, and that is mulch. You guys, you cannot have a garden tilled up, bare soil in this extreme heat and drought that we're having across the world right now. So you're going to find in this video 3 experts and myself all telling you why to use mulch, what type of mulches to use, and how to use that mulch. And I'm mixing all these different opinions in because I want you guys to understand that it's not just me yelling it from the top of my lungs. It is people who have been gardening for many years, longer than I have, who have much larger YouTube channels than I have, all saying the same thing. And the reason I'm doing this, because the Bible literally tells you that you should get confirmation from 2 or more people when you want to know if that's the right thing for you to do. So what I'm doing is I'm adding in 3 different people, all telling you to do the same exact thing. Get those gardens mulched. You will actually lower the temperature around the root zone, ensuring that your plant can withstand extreme temperatures. So God bless you. Enjoy the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
A 6-inch layer of mulch on top of the plants. And this is going to keep the root zone nice and cool. See, most plants can take hot temperatures, but they need a cool root zone. Virtually no plants want a baking hot root zone. And so this is one of the #1 things I see when people show me their problems that they have in the garden is they have containers or they have raised beds or something that has no type of mulch or protection for the roots. So it's just baking hot root zone, and the plants just don't like that at all. Okay, that's not good for them. And so for this reason, we want to use one of the various different techniques of mulching that you're going to see here in just a moment. All right. Another really beneficial reason, besides buffering from the extremes of the heat and retaining moisture and keeping the root zones cool, is that when you use good organic mulches, it nourishes the soil. So the favorite food of the earthworm is leaves, definitely, followed by like horse and cow manure, really good, grass clippings, all of these things you will see. Even cardboard, they love cardboard.
I use for mulch. What do you have available? We're using trash hay. That came with the scholarship that we're involved in. But I encourage people to just look around your property. What do you have an abundance of? What naturally grows on your property? And what I mean by that is if you have oak trees abundantly and you have a lot of leaves, go ahead, pile them up, run a lawnmower over them several times, take that out into your garden and dump it on the ground really deeply, as thickly as possible. So most of you guys know that I worm form, and one of the beddings, because bedding is food, that I use for my worm forms happens to be leaves and rabbit manure. So if it's good for my red wigglers to convert into vermicompost or worm castings for my garden, well, it's going to do just as well directly on your soil to attract earthworms. Now, red wigglers are earthworms, but they're what they called epigeic, and that is leaf-dwelling worms. They really don't go deep into the soil. What you want to attract in your garden is something called, of course I forgot the word, but deep dwelling worms. They can go anywhere from 3 inches to about 8 feet, creating tunnels that are going to aerate your soil, allow water to drain through, and they move nutrients up and down through these tunnels, also adding oxygen, breaking up compacted soil. So that is why you're going to see so many of us encourage you to use things like cardboard and leaves. You have pine straw because you're surrounded by pine trees, do it. If you have a lot of down trees on your property and possibly a way for you to be able to make that into wood chips, use that. You can use anything that you have. If you can only get your hands on cardboard and lay that on top of your soil, cut a hole in it, plant the plant into that. Do it. Cover it with newspaper. People ask me, well, where do you get these things? I'm a very economic type of person. Everything comes with a price tag for me. I'm debt free. I intend to stay that way. So I need to be sustainable, viable, and economically independent. Your local library will give you all the newspapers that you want. You can also go to newspaper printing, like the print where they actually print the newspaper. Ask them for their old newspapers, even if you have to give them a little bit of money. Cardboard, everybody has a dollar store around them. Just pull up in the parking lot and be like, hey, I need your boxes. They're going to be like, they're outside by the trash. Go get the boxes. Please remember, remove all the tape. Tape in the garden, plastic in the garden, it's the bane of your existence, I promise. I just wanted to go over that with you because a lot of people are struggling with the idea of mulch. Guys, it doesn't matter what you put down. You've got to cover your soil.
You need to know in order to implement this very valuable tool of mulch. So I'm going to say some things about it, and then I'm going to take you outside into the garden and show you multiple different ways to mulch things. So there is no excuse that you're not implementing this in your garden this season. So, number one reason that we want to apply mulch is because that is how nature does it. When we look to nature, we can see that nature never likes bare soil, if the climate allows for it, not like a desert or something. But the forest, there's always a nice thick layer of mulch, and over the years it decomposes. Even the grasslands, there's a nice thick layer of mulch that decomposes over the years. The jungle, thick layer of mulch. And this is what nature loves because the plants mine the minerals, store them in the plant tissue, and then when they fall to the ground, it begins to decompose by the microorganisms, nourishing the life in the soil and providing minerals and nutrients to the plants. And so we must mimic nature in this way. So mulch are vast. And number one is that it is going to insulate our soil from the extremes. So one of the things that dries out soil is having it exposed because there is what is called capillary action. And think of a wick. Think of like a candle wick. How the candle wick draws up the fluid or the wax through the wick and then burns it up top. And that's what we could call capillary action. Now the soil has the same type of thing going on. So in the vast majority of the country, in the vast majority of countries, there is water in the ground. There is like what we call a water table. And the soil has the ability to draw water up from the water table. But what happens when we till the garden and then we just leave it exposed to the sun and to the wind and to the heat and all of these elements, it pulls the moisture out of the ground.
It's very thick. What I'm going to do today is deep mulch this area. So when should you put your mulch down? Put your mulch down now. Even if you're not going to use this garden area again until next year. It'll be okay to go ahead and mulch now. The purpose of your mulch is many, many aspects. The biggest one is it's going to trap moisture to the ground. It's going to begin to soften the dirt up underneath it because now this bright sun isn't hitting that soil and baking it like concrete. The second thing it's going to do is going to break down and add nutrients back to your soil. The third thing it's going to do, it's going to smother out the weeds, and as those weeds die, they're going to give your garden a nitrogen boost. The fourth thing that it's going to do is encourage microbes and earthworms to come up from underneath and begin to open up pores in the soil for you. Your microbes will take off. Your soil, let me correct myself, your dirt will become living soil. So when you think about when you're going to mulch, like, oh, I'm going to do it in the spring. No, if you're done gardening for the year, this year's a scratch for you. If it's become too hot, you don't want to do it anymore, go get you some mulch. Pine straw, hay. If you get hay, the best way to find what we call organic hay, where it does not have the toxic herbicides in it that kill your plants and stop them from growing because it stays in the hay for so many years and then gets into your soil. The best way to do that, guys, is look for a farmer who has what they call trash hay.
Hi, everyone. Today, I am going to share one of the very best things that I have ever done for my Ohio garden. This one simple thing allows me to avoid weeding the entire summer, drastically cuts back on the amount of watering that I have to do, Over time, it helps to improve the quality of my clay soil. And best of all, for the most part, it's entirely free. Now, there are several reasons that using mulch in the garden can be really beneficial, and I've already hit on a couple of the big ones. The first being weed suppression. Mulch can help suppress the growth of weeds by blocking sunlight from reaching the soil surface, which inhibits weed seed germination. Now, there are still aggressive weeds which will power through most mulches. Dandelions and thistles, I'm looking at you. But I've found that they're typically much easier to pull out of soil which has been mulched versus left bare. The second is moisture retention. Mulching prevents soil moisture evaporation, thus reducing the amount of watering needed. As you can imagine, this is of particular importance during periods of hot and dry weather.
And people, if you just keep raking if you don't have yard grass, get pine straw. People say pine straw is acidic. It's not. When it decays, it is not acidic. And it'll go right on into that ground and do exactly what this is doing right here. It'll kill that grass growing. And what little bit gets through is not gonna hurt a thing.
Not at all.
It'll just go back in the ground next year for more compost.
You're kind of like me. Not only do you compost and do worm castings, but every now and then you just throw stuff directly on top of the soil.
That's right. And I'll usually cover it up, and believe me, the birds, the possums, whatever, they'll get in there and stir it up, scratch it, and keep the ground turned over for me.
I was about to say, work with your environment.